Hey, it's Fox from InfernoFox Gaming coming to you with another top 10 list. This time we're talking about Nintendo Switch games, although I'm going to put a number of rules, much like my top 10 SNES and NES videos that I've done. To that end, we are removing from contention the following. First-party Nintendo games. Not only does this rule out the entirety of Mario, Zelda, Pokemon, Smash Bros., this also removes series like Bayonetta, Xenoblade Chronicles, and of course the best of them all, Everybody 1-2 Switch. Square Enix games. This is a limiter for myself personally, since I'm a huge JRPG fan. This means no titles from the Final Fantasy series, Dragon Quest, Octopath Traveler, and more. And finally, games originally released on other platforms before the original release date of the Nintendo Switch, being March 3rd, 2017. The Switch has one of the strongest video game libraries out there, both with newly released titles and those ported to it. By eliminating the latter, we can focus on what really made the Switch have such a winning library without going back to the well, so to speak. And if you like what you see, make sure to like or dislike, subscribe, and ring that bell for notifications. Now, let's get to ranking. Number 10, Monster Hunter Rise, released on March 26th, 2021. While this entry and really this series is not my personal cup of tea, there's no denying how great a game this is, especially if you're a fan of action-based JRPGs. You know it's a JRPG as it's got fishing, and you know it's a JRPG from the current era as it's got a tower defense mode called Rampage. This is reminiscent to the Ys 8 Raids system, albeit with its respective Monster Hunter flavor. The main gameplay loop of defeating and or capturing monsters is the main draw here, which, as a fan of the Final Fantasy series, has become old hat since the 10th entry. I think the most impressive thing about Monster Hunter Rise is that it originally released on the Nintendo Switch. For one of the weaker consoles out there in this generation, I felt that this game ran surprisingly well at a mostly solid 30 frames per second. Monster Hunter Rise is worth a look and is not only available on the Switch, but it and its DLC Sunbreak are available on all major consoles, including PC Steam. Number 9, Shin Megami Tensei 5, released November 12th, 2021. While talking about this series, I'm going to briefly mention that I thought about adding Persona 5 Royal as that released in 2019 on other systems first. But I feel like Royal is really just an expansion on its OG version, Persona 5, which released in 2016. And because this OG released before the inception of the Switch in 2017, that meant that Persona 5 Royal is disqualified. But that's okay, as we're not without excellent titles for the Switch, even with the full rules in effect, and Shin Megami Tensei 5 is one of them. In this dozens of hours long RPG, we see our unnamed protagonist be drawn into an apocalyptic version of their home Tokyo, and thus be drawn into a battle of the gods versus demons. Featuring turn-based battles and a Pokemon-like demon capturing system, its overall gameplay is also fairly similar to Persona 5. Because P5 was my first game within the realm of Sega and Atlus overall Shin Megami-verse, I felt fairly at home with this entry. And just like Persona 5 getting Royal, SMT5 will be getting its own type version called Vengeance. Not only is it on the Switch as of June 21st, 2024, it is on all major consoles and PC Steam at that date as well. Number 8, Celeste, released on January 25th, 2018. If you've ever played Super Meat Boy, then 2D platformers like this one can be easily identified by its brutal difficulty. But don't let that get to you. Celeste is not only a journey for those with the video game skills and fortitude to handle the difficult climb up the samely named mountain, it's also a journey that one must take as they fight their own inner demons. We see the main protagonist, Madeline, work to climb Mount Celeste while meeting many interesting characters, one of these being the physical embodiment to her own negative feelings. One nice thing with Celeste is the amount of accessibility options, namely the ability to tone down the difficulty. This is greatly appreciated, as there are many individuals that shouldn't miss experiencing this gem of a game. Special shout out to composer Lena Raine, who brought a soundtrack fitting to the number of environments Madeline explores, as well as the journey she makes from within her own heart and beyond. The free DLC titled Farewell was added after release. I haven't played this DLC myself, but if it's more Celeste gameplay, it's definitely worth your time. Number 7. The Legend of Heroes Trails into Reverie. Originally released first in Japan and on the PS4 on August 27th, 2020. Then released in the US on the Switch on July 7th, 2023. Now, being totally honest here, I have not played this entry. The simple reason as to why is that I'm not far enough into the entirety of the Trails/Kiseki series to explore this specific entry. I've only played 2 of the 6 games that precede Reverie, and that's not counting the Trails in the Sky trilogy that occurred before these. Getting to know the characters and the world that exists within an RPG is important. For a series like Kiseki and a game like Reverie, it's mandatory. But the payoff is well worth it if one makes the investment. Beyond all the story elements, Reverie and the games within this series feature excellent turn-based JRPG gameplay, a killer soundtrack, and plenty of fishing, of course. I'm sure I'll end up getting into this entry, though most likely I'll end up playing it on the next Switch successor when it comes out, assuming backwards compatibility, of course. Number 6. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge. Released on June 16th, 2022. While this is also available on all major consoles, there's something quite nostalgic about playing this gem on a Nintendo system. I grew up playing classic TMNT beat-em-ups like the Manhattan Project and Turtles in Time on these systems, so it felt like coming home once again with Shredder's Revenge. And make no mistake, this game is a love letter to these old fighting games while still offering new experiences within it. The fighting is solid with all 7 playable characters, 9 if you include the DLC, having their own unique styles of doing so. The action ramps up greatly when up to 6, that's right, 6 playable characters, fight the Foot Clan's greatest generic forces all at once. I love that not only does it have this via local multiplayer, but connection with strangers online is possible to fill that party of said 6 people. There's a wide variety of levels, and with 16 of them total, there's plenty of game to go around. The music is fantastic, thanks to composer T. Lopes, who also did the music for Sonic Mania, Frontiers, Superstars, and Dream Team. Also supplying to the soundtrack is the fantastic YouTube metal artist, Johnny Atma, aka GaMetal, whose metal music remixes of a plethora of tracks in the video game lexicon are available on his YouTube channel. Link is down below. Number 5. Sea of Stars, released on August 29th, 2023. The most recent entry in this top 10, also available on all major consoles, is a love letter to classic JRPGs of the 90s era, specifically games Chrono Trigger and Super Mario RPG. With dual text and a sprawling story like the former, and a timed hits battle system like the latter, the studio's Sabotage really made a wonderful game. While the player selects either Valere or Zale at the beginning of the game, I'd be hard-pressed to argue that the main character of said game is truly the warrior cook Garl. His bright and sunny disposition provides both the warmth of friendship and food to his fellow party of characters. His storyline is one of a wider cast of interesting characters in an even larger variety of environments. And if you're a fan of an earlier game released by Sabotage, there's a number of Easter eggs within the game itself too. I also loved the endings within Sea of Stars. These endings are obtained by forward progression of the game, rather than the likes of Chrono Trigger where they occur when the player defeats the last boss during the course of the game itself. I pride myself at being a huge RPG fan, so I was surprised to find that Sea of Stars represents the highest point in this top 10 list for RPGs. That really shouldn't be a surprise though, since I did omit Square Enix as a base rule here. Did I miss any RPGs in this top 10 that follow the rules that I had mentioned before? Make sure you let me know in the comments section below. Number 4. The Messenger, released on August 30th, 2018. Also available on all major consoles. I'm betting there's a lot of people that'd be surprised this game ranks higher than Sea of Stars, especially since both games were made by the studio Sabotage. While the music in Sea of Stars was fantastic, I felt that The Messenger holds the edge here. It's a lot more frenetic and fun versus Sea of Stars' more melodic themes, but The Messenger's music has to be, as it has to mirror the high-octane action that it has, especially as the game progresses. The player takes control of a ninja character simply referred to as the Messenger. See, not just a clever title. They must traverse a wide variety of different environments to deliver the scroll on their back to its final destination. The overall gameplay loop is extremely similar to the original NES Ninja Gaiden series, though the Messenger has a number of curves and plot twists that change this up. One of these is the player finding and going through portals to change the graphics and soundtracks from 8-bit to 16-bit and back again for forward traversal. Another twist is one that changes the overall genre of the game in its entirety from action platformer to that of a Metroidvania. Being a huge fan of both, this was a welcome change and it allowed me to stretch my time with The Messenger even longer. Number 3. Hades. Originally released as early access on the Epic Games Store December 6, 2018, then officially the full game released on the Nintendo Switch on September 17, 2020. Hades got a lot of critical acclaim upon its release, but trust me, it has earned every bit of it. It also is very difficult, which I believe is par for the course for a roguelike game such as this. Taking control of Hades' son Zagreus, the player must escape the many levels of the underworld while battling Hades' monsters and various minions. Depending on the continued or failed progress of the player, Zagreus learns the true history of his coming to be, as well as whom his birth mother is. While one death means the loss of all the weapons gained and everything else, and a return to the beginning of the game, Zagreus does make gains by inches by having the ability to choose more options of weapons to start his escape runs the further he progresses. The gameplay itself is a sort of isometric top-down style and has an excellent battling system. And while dying in battle is frustrating, and with it being a roguelike, frustration is a, well, nice way to put it, I never found Hades to be overly unfair. One great aspect of the game is, of course, the music. Composer Darren Korb has made an outstanding soundtrack, marrying a Greek Mediterranean sound with metal and prog, depending on the scene or environment Zagreus is currently going through. Hades is available on all major consoles and PC Steam. Number 2. Tetris Effect. Originally released on the PS4 on November 9th, 2018, then released on the Nintendo Switch October 8th, 2021. I covered this title on my recent Top 10 Tetris ports video, so I won't repeat myself too much. While this was one of the best versions of Tetris to have released, it more than earns its second place spot here for the Nintendo Switch. Tetris Effect, while not too expansive on the 7-plus-year-old system's processing efforts, runs very smoothly with its bright aesthetics and whatnot. If you're a fan of a variety of musical styles interwoven within the trance genre, the music here will especially click for you. The multiplayer offerings, both local and online, are quite robust. I've got the PS4 version of Tetris Effect. I couldn't really tell the difference between that version and the Switches. Maybe the rest of the major consoles could run Tetris Effect better, since it is out for those as well as PC Steam, and if you're a fan of VR, I'd recommend those over the Switch. For a series that is nearly 40 years old, a game like Tetris Effect is the perfect iteration, but surprisingly, it isn't the best game on the Switch. That honor goes to number 1, Sonic Mania, released August 15th, 2017. Even though this gem, or perhaps I should say emerald, of a game was released on all major consoles plus PC Steam, being an old school gamer, there's a part of me that loves playing this on a Nintendo console. And unlike future Sonic games like Frontiers and Superstars, Mania runs just as well on the Nintendo Switch as well as on all other major consoles. We see the Blue Blur Sonic team up with his buddies Tails and Knuckles to take on Dr. Robotnik and his team of Egg Robos from taking advantage of the power of the Phantom Ruby. It's pretty boilerplate stuff story-wise for a Sonic game, but where that veneer is normally thin, Mania excels at everything else. Programmer Christian Whitehead, who used to be a Sonic fan game maker, led the team of Mania and produced one of the best 2D Sonic games since Sonic 2 or 3 and Knuckles. The action platforming is fast and frenetic, seeing Sonic and friends speeding through levels new and old, the latter often having revamped versions of themselves. The music, again composed by Lee Topes, is also revamped for these versions of the old levels, as well as tracks for the new levels being quite excellent. There are a total of 13 zones in the game, each with 2 acts, and this doesn't even count the DLC, which brings back Ray the Flying Squirrel and Mighty the Armadillo from Sega Sonic the Hedgehog from the arcades. With all of this said, it's no wonder this is the best Nintendo Switch game, with all the rules I've mentioned. Now, even with these rules, how right do you think I got it? Are you mad that I didn't mention games like Doom Eternal, 13 Sentinels Aegis Rim, or Hogwarts Legacy? Make sure you let me know in the comments section below. Thanks again for watching, and have a great day.